Hello and welcome to another TSR CSGO analysis vid. This one's a little bit different than stuff I've done in the past. It's kind of like a hybrid between the competitive snapshot and the behind the play stuff. So keep that in mind. It's just to see how it works. This is from the match at the IEM Katowice, however you say it, 2014 Grand Finals between Virtus.pro and Ninjas in Pyjamas. This is literally just round one. This video series is going to be called like Overanalyzed because that's exactly what it is. Yes, so let me know what you think. We'll see if this works, if it's viable or interesting or whatever, but yeah, I'll jump to the game now and stop rambling. So let's see. I just launched the first match. Nothing has even happened. No shots have been fired. I'm going through it extra slow and looking for just little things to point out and things to think about, you know? So the first thing I wanted to mention was the weapon loadouts, or gear, like equipment loadouts, I guess, of both teams. So let's see, let's look at CT side first. So they got 4 armors. You can see they're running with 4 P2000s and then one of the USP silenced. That's nice for me because I tried the USP silenced before and it seems really powerful, but personally, I guess I just get too excited in the moment, and 7 rounds or whatever it is not enough for me. Actually, I think it's 7 rounds, right? Well, whatever. So I like to go ballistic with the P2000, and seeing that 4 pros are using the P2000 makes me feel better, because for a while I think everybody was using the USP silenced, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be using it, but that really has nothing to do with anything. So they went with 4 armors. They got 1 guy, Freiberg, with a diffuse kit and an HE grenade. So one thing to point out here is that Freiberg needs to either be very close to his teammates so that if he goes down, they don't just lose that HE grenade and diffuse kit. So if you're in that situation where the rest of your team bought armor, they can do more roaming. If they get killed, it's not as big of a deal. They need Freiberg to pretty much be like the last guy alive if necessary, if everyone else dies, because he's, well, not necessarily, I guess. Basically, they need to make sure that if Freiberg does go down, they get his diffuse kit and HE grenade. In fact, they might even want him to go down at some point. I suppose you could do it that way, right? Where Freiberg actually does get killed, but he has a chance to use his HE grenade, get a few shots off, and then he dies, and one of the guys with armor who are stronger, has the most amount of health or whatever, picks up the diffuse kit, and now that's in a really safe position because they got armor and they got diffuse kit, which they couldn't just with a normal first round buy, which would be pretty sweet. Alright, so then let's switch to the T side, So they're all rolling with Glocks. They've only got 2 with armor, and then they went with grenade loadouts, which is pretty interesting. At least from an amateur perspective, like when we always play as a team, we pretty much always just go with armor because it seems extra safe. But having 9 grenades on your side might be really, really nice. You can see, let's see. I think all the grenades are going short A, and one of the armors, and then Pyjamas or whatever his name is going mid, which makes sense. You want to send your armor mid. You don't want to send one of these guys with grenades, probably because Pyjamas could take a few hits and he can even back off and stay alive. Whereas the grenades, you could literally get picked in the head once and go down. Although alternatively, you could have him play really cautiously, right? He could sit even back here, and just suspecting that maybe they might push up on him, and he could just be throwing grenades and smokes and stuff just to make him think that they might be going mid. Or he could do something like come up the backside here, drop smokes and grenades, and make him think that it might be B, which, if they can get a few people to even just one guy to go over there to potentially have to support B, these guys' job is a little easier. Let's see. I also wanted to point out. I mean, I mentioned this in the behind the play. Their positioning. They have almost all their guys mid, which probably isn't a bad idea, right? Because it makes it really easy for them to come into B and support. Get Right's in a position where he could come up, see nobody, and go right down Cat. Exist would just have to come around. So they're kind of like just, playing it in the middle. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, I wanted to mention that. So, okay, these guys approach this position here. Now, when we do amateur side T and we're running with pistols, we generally will just want to do a fast push. That just seems like statistically that's what works the best for us. Is we'll just be like, okay, we'll call it at the beginning of the match and we'll say, let's go A, and we will just rush in. Or, I mean, at the most we would delay here for just a little tiny bit while Palace got set up, and then we would go in. They've sent 4 right into this spot, and they've actually delayed for a little bit, which is nice because Exist, if they would have ran in, Exist would have seen him right away, which meant these 2 guys would have been able to reinforce very quickly. With just a slight little bit of delay, and Paza, putting some shots down or whatever, they've gotten Exist to come in connector here, and Get Right will probably end up moving up a little bit, which gives them even a little bit more room to work with in this spot. And they got all the grenades, which means they can smoke off this entire section, which actually separates the entire team from A. Pretty cool. What else? Let's see. So when they do push into A, one other thing to note here is that because they sent Paza, God, I hate how he had to be the one here because I don't know how to pronounce his name and I'm probably just destroying it. But having him here is really nice because if he comes around and he can either get a pick on Get Right, or even if he doesn't, like these guys, when they come pushing in back into A, when these guys show up, this guy's going to be a problem if they don't pay attention to him. So now they have to have at least... So basically they can have like 3 guys reinforce A. One guy has to basically control this. Otherwise he's going to come up behind him and wreck him. So what's smart, and I think this is what they do, is they send Forrest up through Cat like this, which is good. I mean, a lot of, say you're an amateur player, you're just dicking around, you might be like, oh, I'm going to go play it safe and do something like this. But sending Forrest here allows him to control Paza. Well, these 4 are actually able to go into A. So that's an interesting thing to consider. If you're sitting at B and they've all rushed A, instead of going behind like this, I mean, I'm not saying this will always work, but it could be a good idea to go Cat and then make sure you control mid so that these guys don't come up behind you. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I got for now. I'm going to pause, and then I will come back with more intriguing insights, hopefully. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at what's going on now. So this is still prior to any engagement in the first round here. So Get Right is moved up on Paja, and he's seen him, and he's also seen that there's no other T's in this area. And I circled this spot here because by seeing only a single guy here, it's pretty safe to assume that there's not going to be any T's just sitting in this back area, because that would be kind of stupid, right? I mean, you don't want to like have your guys sitting in this spot because Forrest can move up along this corridor and he can secure this section. Exist or whoever else can control Palace, or here they can get into T side and secure that. So when Get Right sees Paza, he knows that the team's probably not here, which means that they could still be here. They could be in Subway, or they could be here, essentially. You can see these 3 guys are moving. The reason they're moving is actually because they've seen some grenades come over. But prior to just a few seconds ago, they wouldn't have actually known that the T's were here. Which is probably why Forrest is kind of creeping up here, just to see if he can get an angle to check if they're camped out outside of apartments. So the 3 smokes have been tossed over. We can actually see where they're dropping. I'm assuming probably to block connector and CT spawn, looks like. So we'll have a smoke here, which will make it difficult for this attack, and here, which will actually probably be unnecessary, but they don't know that. What else can we pull from this? I suppose it's probably a pretty safe assumption to assume prior to the grenades that the T's would be, if they're not here, that they're probably here. I mean, they could be camped here, I suppose. That's probably not a horrible position, although going into B does seem, I mean, going to B on any map generally seems the hardest. They could be Subway, but the problem with Subway is that you kind of have a full 180 degrees of coverage that you have to come out. So you like come out this little door as a team, and you have to try and, you know, cover all these spots simultaneously. So Subway's generally probably pretty risky, and they're probably not going to do it on a first round where they really want to secure the win. So yeah, I mean, if we're looking for statistics or probabilities, I would imagine that the moment Get Right sees Paza, they can probably put like a, you know, 60 to 80% chance that they're going to come through A. I mean, maybe. Let's say 60 and then 40 or something like that, maybe. Okay, so first rounds have been fired mid between Get Right and Paja. Get Right seems like in a slightly better position. He actually got a few quick shots off, or he got a better shot off on Paja first. And he actually doesn't have very much coverage to go into, whereas Get Right can move just slightly to the left to get get cover there. If Get Right gets picked, Forrest is coming cat, so he'll be able to control this situation. He'll also have an angle through here to pick on T's. And then you can see the 3 NIP players here immediately backed off. Exist had been right here. He could have got up on stairs, either trying to get a pick or just, you know, trying to control the area. But I suppose the NIP players, since they're so spread out, I mean, they pretty much know that there's going to be 4 players here, and there would have only been, I mean, really there would have been 4 players here, there would have been one NIP player here, and maybe like 1 here. So it would have been 4v2. They do have a slight advantage being the ones defending. But I suppose NIP is probably just thinking, let's just play it safe. Let's wait till Forrest gets up. Hopefully Get Right will get this kill. And then we will have 1 angle here. Well, basically 2 angles here. We'll have 1 here and then maybe like 2 here. And then we can do potentially a 5v4 if they can get Paja. If Get Right gets taken out, Forrest will come up, hopefully clear it out, and they will have a 4v4, except the T's will have a slight advantage. Potentially, it depends on the timing, but they will potentially have an advantage because they will be the ones defending now, which means they'll, you know, they can have a guy here who's ready to get the headshot. They could have a guy here ready to get the headshot. Like, you know, it's easier when you're the one camped in and someone has to move into your territory. But depending on the timing, if they, you know, if there's enough chaos and Virtus Pro can't quite get set up in time, it can be pretty even. It could be a pretty even 4v4. Okay, so as you can see, Get Right got picked here mid. He did get a little bit of damage on Pasha, but Pasha is going to move up mid now. He is going to connect with Forrest and Fifth Lauren, and they will hopefully secure this kill and make it a 4v4, although it'll still be a slight advantage towards Virtus Pro because it looks like they're getting set up. They're going to have the bomb plant. Now NIP is going to have to come into their territory, which is tough. I think Fifth Lauren actually made a slight mistake here. We can see his positioning. He actually jumped through window, which is kind of surprising to me, because I mean, if he was window in this exact situation, he actually could get shots off on Pasha right now. And ideally, because of it, because of this setup here, if Fiflarn would have remained right behind this wall and hidden, he could have waited till Forrest showed up and engaged with Pasha. The moment Forrest fires a shot and they get into a skirmish, Fiflarn could have came around this wall and then put shots down. And the reason that would be optimal is because if Fiflarn fired the first shots, Pasha's probably going to back off, and Forrest would never be able to engage, which means that they would be held up here while Virtus.pro got even more set up and potentially got the picks here. So in terms of optimal speed, make sure they control Pasha and get him down. Forrest engages first. Fiflarn shows up through the window. They secure the kill, hopefully. And then Fiflarn could have turned around and secured this. But now that he leapt out, Forrest would actually have to loop around to get in here, which might not be too bad, I guess, because Fiflarn sits here and he's waiting for Pasha to come, and for whatever reason, Snacks is feeling super gangster, and he decides to just Rambo in here. He could actually shoot Fiflarn in the back. And then that would be, really disastrous. So leaping through the window, I mean, technically is probably safer. And then if they have Forrest loop around, Forrest could secure the window by coming through the little opening here. But I'm not sure if that's what happens. I don't really remember. None of the T's have any angles yet. Everything is smoked off at this point. The bomb is probably just a second or two from going down. These two NIP players, I mean, their job essentially is just to survive. Maybe get a couple lucky shots through the smoke. That would be nice. But the same could happen to them. So I would say just these two players, they absolutely must not die right now, because they need these two players to clean up Pasha, get into position, and then wait till the smokes go down and attack. Although with the smokes up, one of the options is for Exist could sit up on a crate here, Freiberg could sit behind the crates here in the smoke, and maybe catch a T player off guard if he moved up or something. If they sit back here, that's not really an option. Then they actually have to engage long range. Okay, so just a quick little mention here. You can see Forrest and Pasha are engaged in mid now. Fiflarn almost another little blunder in my opinion. He's actually just moving straight into connector, even though, I mean, you can see right now he has headshot potential on Pasha to just definitely secure this kill. I mean, Forrest has hit him again. On the interface it still says he's 70, but you can see he's actually at 51% there. So Forrest will most likely get this kill, but on the off chance that he didn't, Pasha could turn right away and get Fiflarn. Or Pasha could back off slightly, right, and still get an angle on Fiflarn. He could, basically injure him and then come back around for Forrest. It just seems like Fiflarn should have helped engage. They should just get this kill ASAP. And the reason is because these smokes are here. Fiflarn can't do anything right now. I mean, I'm assuming he's maybe going in because there could be a T sitting right here. Technically, there was probably a window of opportunity where Snacks could have ran in here with no one seen. Although I'm not sure that's possible, because Forrest might have already been in this lane and able to see. But, that's hard to know. We're talking a second or something window. But it just seems like Fiflarn probably should have helped engage here. And then he can check this, because he could just move up here, so this T would have to actually come all the way out and around. And like I said, he should know that these smokes are here, so there's not much he can actually do at this point, because Exist saw the grenades coming in. I'm assuming that he would have said something, or just as professional players, the assumption is that these smokes are going to be here. So I just wanted to point that out really quick. Okay, so just a couple seconds later, you can see that Forrest and Fiflarn they got a ton of damage on Pasha, and Fiflarn actually did turn around. It looks like he maybe checked and then came back. This is really nice for Pasha and the T's though, right? Because Pasha's going to run away, maybe just, you know, get in here and hide or something for a second. He's pulled the attention of these two players completely away from A, which gives the T's more time to set up. And it's also, I mean, Exist and Freiburg are getting really close. They've started nading in. Like I said, they're probably going to hide behind boxes, hopefully, and just stay safe for a moment. But now Forrest and Fifth Lauren are down mid. They're both going to have to go through connector, as opposed to having one guy at least window room that can get an angle. I mean, he could get an angle on Bialy, whatever. Maybe Neo. Snacks will probably back off, but yeah, nice for this worked out nicely with Pasha pulling the attention of these two players away. Okay, another thing to point out, this whole situation right here is kind of got messed up, I think, because now Snacks has come through the smoke and he connected with Forrest. Forrest got nicked pretty hard there. I think he did do a little return damage to Snacks, but if this is what was going to happen, if they're both going to end up just coming through connector, Fifth Lauren, who was just here checking probably this corner or just checking to see if the smokes were up or whatever he was doing, he probably, if this is what they're going to end up doing, Fifth Lauren should have just stayed here. As Snacks came out of the smoke, which would have been disorienting for Snacks, he would have had to, you know, try and, you know, get through the smoke and then try and find out where exactly he's looking. Fifth Lauren could have been ready for him and could have got the kill, got more damage on him, but instead Snacks was the one ready. Forrest came through and Snacks connected right away. So yeah, that didn't work out too well, and Paja is just going to run away now and probably just retreat to the rear of his team and then hopefully help out there. Because now this is going to take too long. They're not going to, Paja is safe to just go all the way back because most likely, and it'd probably be really stupid for Fifth Lauren to chase all the way through here. I doubt it would work out. Paja would probably see him behind. He'd be able to tell his teammates. They'd turn around and kill Fifth Lauren. It would just take too long too. By the time he got to the bomb, cleared it out, I'm sure it would explode. So, yep. Okay, stepping forward just a little bit, Snacks got the pick on Forrest, which is not really surprising since he had the first initial damage. He basically caught Forrest out there. Then Fifth Lauren turned around, came in, and actually went for the attack. Now, he didn't necessarily have to do that. He actually went like aggressive and went like Snacks backed off and just held his position right here. And the moment Fifth Lauren showed up, he just shot him in the head. Whereas Fifth Lauren could have held this room and just tried to let Snacks come back. He basically could have done the same thing Snacks just did to him, but, you know, let Snacks walk out a little bit. Or he could have sat here and tried to get a little bit of an angle on any of these players in here. But then again, he doesn't, I mean, it might be risky since there is no player in window room. Snacks could have just went, you know, took out his knife and whoops, he could have ran right through here and around and got him. He also doesn't know if Pasha, you know, Pasha could have gone here, turned around, checked, no one's there, and then he could come back around, and then Snacks would just do a little coordinated attack and get Fifth Lauren anyway. So in one respect, Fifth Lauren might have wanted to just try and get the pick on Snacks so he could secure it, turn around, and then check to see if Pasha's there. I mean, that's not too bad. Although I still think that had he remained in window room, it would have worked out a lot better. I mean, they could have gotten the pick on Snacks. I mean, on Pasha. Forrest could have been watching here or jumped down in here. Fifth Lauren could have been watching this angle. He could have got a little damage here. Snacks, if Fifth Lauren would have been in window room, Snacks probably would have been back here still, which means it would have still ended up with a skirmish between Forrest and Snacks, which could have gone either way. But at least Fifth Lauren wouldn't have walked into a trap or put himself in a position where he could have been attacked from both angles. I mean, Pasha would have had to run all the way here and through here, and it's probably a little bit more unrealistic. Plus, they probably just would have got the pick on him, I think. Taz actually got a nice grenade in here, too, on Exist, and looks like Freiburg got a little damage, too. So, I mean, now it's going to be really, really hard, if not impossible, for Nip to come back. I mean, they lost 2 players here, which they probably didn't need to. Yeah, I mean, they could have got Paja. It would have been, I think it would have been a 4v4. You could assume that they had these 2 players done something a little bit different. They probably could have got maybe Snacks or someone else, and it could have been a 3v3, but... yeah, so I'm just going to let this play out now, because I think at this point, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory or pretty obvious what's going to happen. I mean, they got a little bit of a 2v2 skirmish right here. But even if they do get these 2 picks, they still got to come into the bomb site with these 2 angles and Paja to come up. So let's just play it out and watch a little bit of firefight in action. Those laser pointer things are sweet. Yep. Okay, that was it. Thanks for watching as always. Consider subscribing, liking if you didn't like it, dislike it, and then preferably leave a comment. Yeah, it's just a test vid to see how it works. So thanks for watching.